Deep in the Amazonian rainforest, there's a river that is boiling. Generated by geothermal heat underneath the earth, this river is so hot that it will boil animals alive in a matter of seconds. Did you know that bees have a specific coordinated dance that they use to communicate? The way they tell their fellow bees about the location of nearby flowers is through dancing. The world of science can sometimes be stranger than fiction. From platypuses sweating milk to the Dracula parrot, we've scraped the furthest corners of the internet to truly amaze you. I'm Mike with List 25, and here are amazing science facts that are weird, wild, and true. We tend to believe that humans were the first to invent everything, and nothing seems more human than farming, using elements of nature and putting them into order to create food for us. But the truth is that other animals have been farming for much longer. One of those is ants, whose farming goes back 60 million years. Evidence has been found in the Amazon rainforest of ants using techniques not only similar to our own, but better. They sustainably cultivate crops, helping to make them resistant to diseases. Unlike the kind of crops that humans rely on, like wheat, rice, and potatoes, the little ant farmers grow fungi. In fact, it's such a central part of the ant society that a direct descendant of the queen will transport a piece of the fungi with her to create a new colony, a kind of fungi that are only found underground where ants have been growing them. As autism has been a more common word in the public consciousness, you might have thought that it was another uniquely human condition. However, research suggests the opposite, that animals can have traits similar to what we identify as autistic. One of those animals are bull terriers, who will show the social habits of autism. Did you know that rainbows exist on Venus too? They're a little different though. Light refracts near drops of water that are falling in the atmosphere through something called wave tunneling. This is called glory, and is different from how a rainbow works, which is when light interacts with the water particles themselves. On Venus, which has an atmosphere made up of carbon dioxide, water is hard to come by, and when a space probe captured an image of a glory on Venus, it helped researchers narrow down what exactly the planet's atmosphere was made up of.
You can pinch a weenus as hard as you want. No, not that part of the anatomy. Get your mind out of the gutter. I'm talking about the weenus, that patch of skin on your elbow. Have you ever tried to give it a good pinch? Go on, don't be shy. If you're wondering why it barely registers on the pain scale, it's all about nerve endings. Different areas of your skin have different sensitivities. Tough skin, like that on your elbows, has fewer pain receptors than more delicate areas because your body prioritizes protecting vulnerable areas with more nerve endings to quickly signal when something's wrong. So it's okay to pinch your weenus. It's built to handle it. Did you know that the average human body contains enough fat to produce around 7 bars of soap? Yep, our bodies are basically walking soap factories, and our connection to soap doesn't stop there. In certain conditions, decomposing bodies have also been known to produce a waxy substance called adipose hair, which has a soap-like consistency. Morbid, I know, but it is fascinating. As it turns out, our hearts aren't dependent on our brains to keep pumping. Nope. They've got their own electrical system, which is why a heart can actually continue to beat for a while even after being removed from the body, as long as it has a supply of oxygen. The remarkable ability is an essential component when it comes to organ transplants, as it gives doctors a window of time to transplant and implant a heart into a recipient. So, while it might seem a bit unnatural, it highlights the incredible resilience of our most vital organ. Have you ever wondered how those brave parents get their babies to hold their breath underwater when teaching them to swim? I mean, have you seen those videos online? It's wild. It just so happens that those little ones aren't just fearless, they're tapping into their inner Aquaman, or Aquawoman, thanks to something called the diving reflex. When our faces are submerged in water, our bodies instinctively kick into survival mode. Our heart rate slows down, blood flow gets redirected to our vital organs, and we instinctively hold our breath. This reflex is stronger in babies, but it's still there when we grow up, helping experienced freedivers hold their breath for those impressive amounts of time. Like Kate Winslet holding her breath for 8 minutes on the set of Avatar 2, The Way of Water. Broke a record, I believe. If you've never heard about it, pregnancy brain exists, and it's a real thing. Forgetfulness, difficulty concentrating, and a general feeling of mental fuzziness can all be part of the package when a woman is expecting. Luckily, it's only temporary, and a direct result of the hormonal roller coaster the human body experiences during pregnancy. It usually disappears a month or 3 after the baby is born. It would make sense to think that everything inside your body is squeaky clean and germ-free. However, that is not the case at all. While you might imagine your lungs as pristine air filters, they're actually home to a bustling community of microbes. And it's not just the lungs. Many of your organs, including your gut and skin, have their own unique microbiomes. It might seem gross, but these tiny organisms play important roles in our health, from aiding digestion to boosting our immune systems. And since I'm on the subject of not so sterile body parts, let's talk about your very own air filter. Your nose. We might not think about it often, but our noses play a crucial role in protecting us from harmful particles in the air we breathe. They trap dust and pollen in the sticky mucus lining in the nasal passages, where your tiny nose hairs, or cilia, then sweep those trapped particles toward the back of the throat to be swallowed or coughed out. On top of that, your nose also warms and humidifies the air you breathe before it reaches your lungs. So we really should give it more credit. Mantis shrimp have evolved highly complex eyes that can detect a wide range of light, including ultraviolet, visible, and polarized light. This allows them to see a much wider range of colors and patterns than most other animals, which can be an important advantage in their underwater environment. Mantis shrimp eyes are also capable of rapid movement and can move independently from each other, which allows them to process multiple visual cues at the same time. This advanced visual system has evolved because of the unique ecological pressures in its environment. Some species of bats have evolved the ability to use echolocation, also known as sonar, to navigate and locate their prey in the dark. Echolocation is a process where bats emit high-pitched sounds and then listen back for the echoes that bounce from the objects in their environment. By analyzing the echoes, bats can determine the location, size, shape, and distance of objects around them, including the flying insects that they use as prey. This ability has evolved because of the bats' nocturnal lifestyle, which required them to navigate and hunt in complete darkness. Echolocation is also found in some species of whales and dolphin. Did you know some species of chameleons have evolved the ability to independently move each eye in different directions? This is known as panoramic vision. It allows them to scan their environment quickly and in detail without having to, move their head. This is an important adaptation for chameleons, as it allows them to locate and track prey while also keeping an eye out for predators. Additionally, this ability also allows them to look at different angles and distances simultaneously, which is an important feature for hunting and escaping predators. This ability has evolved because of the chameleon's arboreal lifestyle, which required them to have a wide field of view to navigate through their environment. Some species of reptiles, such as the Komodo dragon, have evolved the ability to produce toxic saliva. Komodo dragons have venomous saliva which contains a variety of toxic enzymes that can cause severe bleeding, shock, and death in their prey. These enzymes can cause blood vessels to rupture and clotting mechanisms to fail. This venomous saliva is a potent adaptation for the Komodo dragon, as it allows them to subdue their prey even if they're not able to strike it with a killing bite. This ability has evolved because of the Komodo dragon's diet, which primarily consists of large, dangerous animals such as deer and water buffalo, which are difficult to kill with physical strength alone. The ancestors of elephants and other mammals belong to a group of animals called therapsids, which were a diverse group of synapsids that lived during the late Permian and Triassic periods, about 260 to 200 million years ago. These therapsids were the first group of land animals to evolve a true jaw joint, which allowed them to chew food more efficiently. They also had a single jawbone, the dentary, which would eventually give rise to the jawbones of mammals. The evolution of this jaw joint was a crucial step in the development of mammals, as it allowed for the evolution of more complex teeth and the development of specialized teeth for different types of food. Some species of birds, such as the albatross, have evolved the ability to fly for long periods without flapping their wings. This is known as dynamic soaring, and allows them to glide on currents of air and thermals, which are upward-moving columns of warm air. This technique allows them to fly for hours without expending much energy, which is an important adaptation for albatrosses, as they often need to fly long distances over the open ocean for food. This type of flight is also found in other seabirds, such as frigate birds, pelicans, and some species of eagles, vultures, and hawks. This adaptation is a result of the selective pressure of their environment, which requires them to be able to fly efficiently over long distances to survive. Now that I've covered the lungs and nose, let's talk about those forceful expulsions we call sneezes and coughs. They aren't random occurrences. They're your body's way of defending itself against unwelcome intruders. When dust, pollen, irritants, or even germs enter your respiratory system, your body reacts by forcefully expelling them through a sneeze or cough, clearing your airways and protecting your lungs from potential harm. Did you know that how your child breathes can actually affect how they talk? Studies have shown that children who primarily breathe through their mouths instead of their noses are more likely to develop a lisp. That's because mouth breathing can change the way the tongue rests in the mouth, making it harder to pronounce certain sounds, particularly the S sound. So, if you've got a little one who's a mouth breather, it might be worth checking in with your doctor to see if there's anything that can be done to help them breathe through their nose. Also, way to go naming lisp when people who have a lisp can't pronounce lisp. Have you ever noticed how stress can give you a stomach ache, or how anxiety can leave you feeling queasy? Scientists call it the gut-brain axis, and it means that your gut and your brain are constantly chatting with each other, sending signals back and forth. So that upset stomach you get before a big presentation, that's your brain sending stress signals to your gut. And that feeling of butterflies in your stomach when you're excited, that's your gut sending happy signals back up to your brain. It's a two-way street, and it shows just how interconnected our bodies really are. Did you happen to see that Grey's Anatomy episode and wonder if a double uterus is a real thing? Well, it is. It's a rare condition called uterus didelphys, and it means some women are born with two separate wombs instead of one. Each of these uteruses has its own cervix, and in some cases, even separate vaginal canals. Now, while it's certainly fascinating, it can come with challenges. Women with this condition have been known to experience complications during pregnancy, as well as increased discomfort and pain during their periods. Your stomach lining is constantly renewing itself. In fact, it's one of the fastest healing tissues in your body. It completely replaces itself every 3 to 6 days, shedding old cells and generating new ones. This rapid turnover helps to protect your stomach from all that acid it gets exposed to during digestion and the wear and tear of processing the food you eat. So while that extra spicy meal might cause temporary discomfort, your stomach is already replenishing itself faster than you can say, pass the antacids. Axolotls are a type of amphibian that can regenerate lost limbs, the spinal cord, the heart, and other organs. This ability is due to the presence of specialized cells called blastomas, which can differentiate into any type of cell needed to rebuild the missing tissue. This ability is unique to axolotls and some other species of salamanders. It's not found in any other adult vertebrates. Scientists are studying the regenerative abilities of axolotls in the hopes that they can one day develop new treatments for human injury and diseases. The ability to regenerate is a result of the selective pressure of their environment, which requires them to have a high capacity of self-repair to survive. Bioluminescence is the ability to produce light. It has independently evolved in a wide range of organisms across many different groups, including fireflies, deep-sea fish, squid, and various types of plankton. This ability has evolved because of different selective pressures in different environments. For example, fireflies use bioluminescence for communication during courtship, deep-sea fish use it for camouflage, and plankton use it as a defensive mechanism against predators. Bioluminescence is also used for hunting, as well as for communication and social behaviors among some species. Bioluminescence is produced by chemical reactions within an organism's cells, which generate light through the conversion of energy from a chemical substrate into light energy. Also, all throughout Pandora, if you watch Avatar, bioluminescence everywhere. Some species of fish, such as the electric eel, have evolved the ability to generate electric shocks. Electric eels can produce electric discharges of up to 600 volts, which they use for hunting and self-defense. Electric eels have specialized cells called electrocytes, which are stacked in series along the length of their body. These cells store and release electrical charge, allowing the eel to generate powerful electric shocks. Electric eels are actually freshwater fish. They're not true eels. They belong to a different family known as the Electrophoridae. Electric eels use their electric shock to stun or kill their prey, and also to defend themselves against predators. This adaptation is a result of the selective pressure of their environment, which requires them to have a powerful weapon to survive in the rivers and streams of the Amazon and Orinoco basins. Did you know that the ancestors of modern horses evolved from small forest-dwelling mammals around 55 million years ago? The first horses were small, dog-sized creatures that lived in forests and had several toes on each foot.
Over time, these early horses evolved to adapt to the grasslands, which were spreading across the earth at the time. They gradually developed longer legs and a single hoof on each foot, which allowed them to run faster and cover more ground in search of food. Additionally, they also developed larger teeth and jaws that were better suited for eating grass. This gradual evolution over millions of years led to the development of the modern horse, which is well adapted to life on open grasslands. Leaf insects have evolved to mimic the shape, color, and texture of leaves, which allows them to blend in with their surroundings and avoid being seen by predators. Some species of leaf insect can even mimic the movement of a leaf in the wind to further camouflage themselves. This adaptation is known as crypsis, and it's a common form of camouflage in the animal kingdom. This adaptation is because their environment requires them to have a high capacity for mimicry to survive. Leaf insects are found in the tropical forests of Southeast Asia and Africa, and they're herbivores that feed on leaves and flowers. You can actually live a long, full, and happy life with just one lung. It might sound theoretical, but our bodies are actually pretty adaptable. Now, how well you do with one lung can depend on why the other one was removed. If it was due to an illness like cancer, there's always a chance it could come back. But if you had to say goodbye to a lung because of an injury and you stay healthy otherwise, you shouldn't have any major limitations. I actually know someone personally who had a lung removed. Hola. She's probably watching this. Have you ever been lying in bed trying to fall asleep when suddenly you become hyper aware of your own heartbeat? If so, you've experienced rubatosis. It isn't just a heightened awareness of your heartbeat though. It's a complex experience that can involve both physical sensations and emotional responses. While some find it neutral or even comforting, others feel unsettled or anxious. If this happens to you, don't worry. Take a few deep breaths or change positions. The feeling is usually fleeting. You might be surprised to learn that for most people, the length of their outstretched arms is almost exactly equal to their height. Trust me, go measure it. Okay, so I'm 5'10". So let's do, it's given a couple of inches because, oh, yep, I dropped it. Oh God. But yeah, my wingspan is about 5'10". And God. As you can see, that's what I am, 5'10". So, oops. It works. It's a fascinating coincidence of human proportions. And that's not the only surprising measurement. No, get your mind out of the gutter. Still not that. While it's not a perfect rule, for many people, the circumference of their waist is about double the circumference of their neck, give or take a Big Mac or two. Remember how I talked about the gut-brain connection? Well, as it turns out, your emotions can actually have the same kind of impact on your immune system. Studies have shown that feelings of guilt, especially about enjoying life's little pleasures, can actually weaken your immune response. This means that if you constantly feel guilty about eating that extra piece of chocolate, you may become more prone to illness. So while it's important to maintain a healthy lifestyle, it's just as important to live a little and not feel guilty about it. That noggin of yours isn't just one solid shell. It's actually a complex puzzle of 29 different bones. Yep, you've got 8 cranial bones surrounding your brain, 14 facial bones giving your face its unique shape, a hyoid bone supporting your tongue, and even 6 tiny auditory bones to help you hear all these fantastic facts. A human brain has more than 100,000 chemical reactions every second. 100,000 reactions every second, people. The astonishing activity is essential for everything from basic bodily functions to complex thought processes. In fact, your brain is so energy hungry that it uses 20% of the total oxygen and blood in your body, even though it only accounts for about 2% of your body weight. Your brain is remarkable. It's constantly working, processing information, generating thoughts, and maintaining the intricate systems that keep you alive and functioning. That's incredible. Have you ever been told off for daydreaming? Well, it's time to embrace those mental escapes. Research suggests that daydreaming isn't a sign of laziness, but rather a sign of higher intelligence and creativity. When your mind wanders, it's actively working behind the scenes, exploring new ideas, making connections, and problem solving. So, next time you catch yourself daydreaming, don't feel guilty. You might just be unlocking your inner Steven Spielberg or William Shakespeare. The process of evolution can lead to the reversal of certain traits, such as the loss of wings in flightless birds. Flightless birds are, well, just that. Birds that have lost the ability to fly due to a genetic mutation or environmental pressure. These birds are found on many of the world's islands, such as the penguins in Antarctica, the ostrich in Africa, and the kiwi in New Zealand. The loss of flight in these birds is a result of a process called regression, which is the reverse of the process of adaptation to flight. This occurs when the selective pressure of the environment changes, making the flight less important for survival. For example, in the case of flightless birds on islands, the absence of land predators and the abundance of food sources make flying less important for survival, so the birds that couldn't fly had a higher chance of survival and reproduction, and therefore passed on those characteristics to the next generation. Eventually, those characteristics became the norm for the species. Evolution. The first land plants evolved from aquatic algae around 500 million years ago. The transition from aquatic to terrestrial environments was a major step in the evolution of plants. The first land plants were, simple, small, and low-lying, and they evolved adaptations that allowed them to survive in the drier, harsher conditions of the land. These adaptations include the development of roots for water and nutrient absorption, the evolution of a waxy cuticle to prevent water loss, and the development of spores for reproduction instead of relying on water for fertilization. These early plants eventually gave rise to the diverse array of plant life we see today, including mosses, ferns, and seed plants such as conifers and flowering plants. Some species of fish, such as mudskippers and lungfish, have evolved the ability to walk on land using their fins. Mudskippers are found in mangrove swamps. They can walk on land using their pectoral fins, which have been modified to function as legs. They can move about on land for short periods of time to forage for food or, to escape from predators. Lungfish are freshwater fish that are found in Africa, South America, and Australia. They have specialized lungs that allow them to survive in stagnant water or during droughts by coming to the surface to gulp air. They can also use their fins to move on land for short distances. Evolutionary theory suggests that sex, the process of producing offspring with a combination of genetic material from two parents, evolved to promote genetic diversity within a population. Genetic diversity is the variation of genetic material within a population, and it can increase the ability of a population to adapt to changing environmental conditions. By shuffling and recombining genetic material during sexual reproduction, offspring are produced with a unique combination of genetic traits, some of which may be beneficial for survival and reproduction. This increased genetic diversity within a population allows for the selection of beneficial traits and the ability to adapt to new or changing environments. A population with greater genetic diversity is also less likely to be wiped out by a disease or environmental change that affects a single genetic variant. Therefore, sexual reproduction allows for greater flexibility and adaptability in a population over time. Well, the word evolution was first used in English by the philosopher Herbert Spencer in 1864 in the context of biological evolution. However, the concept of evolution has been around for centuries before that, but it wasn't always referred to as evolution. Charles Darwin, who is widely recognized as the father of evolution, used the term descent with modification in his 1859 book On the Origin of Species to describe his theory of how species change over time through natural selection. Darwin's work laid the foundation for the modern theory of evolution, which describes how species change over time through the process of natural selection. This item on today's list might just change your workout game. A recent study suggests that even a few seconds of intense exercise per day can help you build muscle strength. Now, I'm not talking about a leisurely walk. Think more along the lines of a few supercharged reps with heavy weights or resistance bands. While it might sound too good to be true, the research indicates that short bursts of high-intensity exercise can be surprisingly effective, especially for those new to working out. Looking to shed a few pounds? Well, here's a simple trick that might surprise you. Drink water with your meals. It might seem too easy, but water is a calorie-free way to help you feel fuller, so you're less likely to overeat. Plus, studies have shown that drinking water before meals can even boost your metabolism, helping you burn more calories throughout the day. And if you swap those sugary drinks for good old H2O, you'll be cutting down on those sneaky extra calories without even realizing it. You ever wonder what sets us apart from our furry friends in the animal kingdom? Besides our obvious lack of fur and superior selfie skills, there's one more thing that might surprise you: the penis bone. Yep, while most mammals, like chimps and even bears, have a bony structure called a baculum in their penises, humans are part of a small group that doesn't. Scientists think that this might have something to do with our relatively quick mating habits and less intense competition for partners compared to other
animals. So while it might seem a little strange, our lack of a penis bone is just another thing that makes us, well, human. Your muscles are your body's built-in furnace. They generate heat with every contraction, which is why you warm up when you exercise and shiver when you're cold. But here's the surprising bit. Your muscles are still producing heat even when you're not actively moving. This baseline level of heat production is called your basal metabolic rate, or BMR. It's the energy your body uses to keep essential functions like breathing and blood circulation going strong. So even when you're just chilling on the couch, your muscles are still hard at work, generating heat to keep your body temperature stable. Did you know that your allergies might not have started after you were born? In fact, research suggests that they could have developed while you were still in the womb. According to the research, your birth weight, which is influenced by your mother's diet and overall health during pregnancy, plays a much bigger role in how sensitive you are to allergens later in life. While more research is needed, the discovery opens up the exciting possibility that mothers could potentially influence their child's allergy risk through their diet or by taking specific supplements during pregnancy. What are you allergic to? Let me know in the comments below. I got lucky. I'm allergic to one thing and one thing only. It's called Zinacef. It's in the Keflex family, and it has to be injected into me, so I can totally handle it. But I got lucky when it comes to allergies. Just one. And it barely registers as one, because don't really see it all that often. Borborygmus. I just love saying that word. Oh, you want to know what it means? Well, you know that terribly embarrassing conversation your stomach likes to have with itself in a quiet elevator or that high-profile corporate meeting? Yeah, that's borborygmus. It happens when the muscles in your digestive tract are rhythmically contracting and pushing food, fluid, and gas through your intestines. 100% normal, and everybody has it. And while it can be embarrassing, at least you know you're not alone when it comes to the symphonies of stomach sounds. The principles of evolution by natural selection are a fundamental aspect of the natural world and are likely to occur wherever life exists. This means that the process of evolution could happen in any place with the right conditions, such as the presence of energy and matter, and a stable environment that allows for reproduction and genetic variation. While the specific outcomes of evolution may be different on other planets or moons, the basic process of evolution by natural selection is expected to be universal. However, there is currently no direct evidence of life beyond Earth. Yet. It's gotta be out there. We can't be alone. That's lonely. Humans and other extinct human-like species such as Neanderthals and Denisovans interbred in the past. Studies of the human genome have revealed that modern humans carry genetic traces of interbreeding with Neanderthals and Denisovans, as well as other extinct human-like species. The exact timing and extent of this interbreeding is still a topic of ongoing research, but it's believed that it occurred tens of thousands of years ago, when modern humans first encountered these other human-like species in Europe and Asia. The interbreeding events have resulted in the transfer of genetic material between the populations, which has contributed to the genetic diversity of modern humans. This interbreeding has also led to the retention of certain genetic traits that were beneficial to the survival of early humans in those regions. Not only living organisms, but also viruses can evolve, and due to their high rate of replication and mutation, viruses can change more rapidly than any other organism. Viruses are not considered living organisms by some definition. They are acellular, and they can't reproduce on their own, and it depends on a host cell to replicate. Viruses are genetic material, DNA or RNA, surrounded by a protein coat. They can infect a wide range of organisms, including plants, animals, and bacteria. The high rate of replication and mutation in viruses allows them to adapt quickly to changing environments and to evade the host's immune system. This is one of the reasons why some viral infections are difficult to treat, and why viruses like influenza and HIV can constantly evolve and evade vaccines. Evolution doesn't only happen to the physical characteristics of organisms, but also to their behavior patterns. Behavioral traits such as mating rituals, hunting strategies, and social behaviors can also evolve in response to environmental pressures. For example, certain mating behaviors may be selected for because they increase the chances of successful reproduction, while others may be selected against because, well, they don't. Similarly, hunting strategies that are successful in capturing prey are likely to be passed on to future generations, while those that are not will be phased out. The social behaviors of animals can also evolve in response to environmental pressures.
For example, the formation of complex societies, such as those found in ants, bees, and humans, may have evolved to increase the chances of survival and reproduction. Soaking your shirt with sweat is kind of embarrassing. But could you imagine if instead of water, you were sweating milk? Bizarrely, that's what platypuses do. They're mammals, meaning that just like humans, they feed their young with milk. Unlike us, though, well, they don't have nipples. So how does the milk get out? Through sweat. If you've ever seen a picture of a platypus that looked very slippery, well, it might not have been water, it was probably milk. It's true. Because comets are made up of a lot of toxic substances, they give off an incredibly foul odor. Most of all, they contain ammonia, which is what makes urine smell so bad, and hydrogen sulfide, which is the scent of rotten eggs. Either of those is bad enough on its own, but could you imagine them together? Ugh. What are your chances of getting struck by lightning? About, well, 1 in a million. That's for us humans, though. If you're unlucky enough to be a giraffe, the odds are much higher. 30 times higher to be precise. Of course, this mostly has to do with them being much taller than us, with an average height of around 16 feet. They're also at risk from below, after lightning strikes the ground and can travel up one of their 4 legs. Coming up later, how much gold do you think the human body contains? You'll be surprised to find out. Humans and chimpanzees are genetically very similar, with the two species sharing 98% of the same DNA. This makes chimpanzees our closest living relatives in the animal kingdom. The genetic similarity between humans and chimps is the result of a common ancestry that dates back millions of years ago. Over time, the two species have diverged and evolved into distinct forms, but they have retained many similar genetic traits due to that shared ancestry. The study of genetic similarities and differences between humans and chimps is an important area of research in the field of evolutionary biology, as it helps to shed light on the evolutionary process that has shaped both species. It's worth noting that many other primates like gorillas, orangutans, and bonobos are also closely related to humans, with a genetic distance of around 96 to 97%. Studies on genetics have shown that all living humans share a common ancestor who lived around 300,000 years ago. This is based on the analysis of the genetic variation present among living humans today. By studying the genetic diversity of different human populations and comparing it to the genetic diversity of other primates, scientists have been able to infer the existence of a common ancestor for all living humans. This common ancestor is believed to have lived in Africa around 300,000 years ago, and is the point from which all living humans are descended. From this common ancestor, different human populations then expanded and migrated around the world, adapting to different environments and developing unique genetic variations over time. Many of the features we consider to be unique to humans, such as, opposable thumbs and large brains, have evolved independently in other animals. Opposable thumbs, for example, are found in primates such as chimpanzees and orangutans, and also in some other mammals like raccoons, opossums, and some marsupials. These thumbs are adaptations that allow for a greater degree of dexterity and manipulation of objects, which is beneficial for, grasping and using tools. Similarly, large brains have evolved independently in other animals such as cetaceans, dolphins and whales, elephants, and certain species of birds like crows and parrots, which have cognitive abilities that are comparable to those of great apes. The evolution of large brains is a result of the selective pressures of their environment, which requires them to have high capacity of problem-solving, memory, and communication to survive. The oldest known fossil of a land-dwelling animal is a millipede-like creature that lived around 428 million years ago. The fossil, which was found in Scotland, belongs to the genus Pneumodismus and is considered to be one of the earliest known terrestrial arthropods. Arthropods are a group of animals that include insects, spiders, and crustaceans, and are characterized by their exoskeletons, segmented bodies, and jointed appendages. This fossil is an important discovery for understanding the evolution of land-dwelling animals, as it predates the previous earliest known land-dwelling animal fossils by around 20 million years. The transition from aquatic to terrestrial environments was a major step in the evolution of life, and the discovery of this fossil provides evidence that arthropods were among the first animals to make this transition. Evolution is a random process that's driven by genetic variation and natural selection. Genetic variation arises through mutations, and natural selection acts on these variations, favoring those that increase an organism's chances of survival and reproduction. Evolution doesn't have a specific direction or goal, and it's not guided by an intelligent design. It's a natural process that can lead to both beneficial and detrimental changes. The traits that increase an organism's chances of survival and reproduction are passed on to the next generation, while those that decrease their chances of survival are phased out. This process can lead to the development of new species, as well as the extinction of existing species. There's a secret side to copper you may not know. This humble brown metal has an antimicrobial quality, i.e. it tackles microorganisms. Physician Victor Burke realized copper had a powerful effect on cholera back in 1852, though it was also used in medicine by ancient peoples such as the Greeks and Romans. Fast forward to 2008, and the US Environmental Protection Agency reported that copper could eliminate most bacteria within 2 hours. If you're wondering what buckyballs are, well then join the club. They sound like a children's toy, but they're actually super expensive carbon nanostructures. Basically, these things are really small and contain carbon and other sciencey goodness, otherwise known as endofullerenes. They were first heard about around 2016 and were reportedly designed to make atomic clocks smaller. Why are they called buckyballs? That's easy. They're round and kind of resemble a football on an atomic level. Bucky comes from the word Buckminster fullerene, and a gram of the stuff comes in at $167 million. They can save your life, but vehicle airbags come at a cost, and that cost is sodium azide. Now, this crystalline chemical does good things. I mean, it inflates your airbag in the crash. Downside, it can be potentially explosive if it mixes with water or an acid. In this state, it becomes hydrozoic acid, which is a volatile compound. Don't get me wrong, I am a huge fan of airbags, but it doesn't hurt to be aware of the dangerous stuff that goes into road safety. Scientists love little details, so you can imagine how American chemist Glenn Seaberg felt upon realizing something crazy and cool. You see, he found he could write his own workplace address using chemical elements to spell things out, namely the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory in Berkeley, California, America. How does that work? Well, simply put, he wrote SGLRBKCF and AM, which stands for Seaborgium, Lawrencium, Berkeleum, Californium, and Americium. There was an element named after himself, so why not? After all, this was the guy who helped discover plutonium. Water? Nope. You're likely to find fat inside a camel's hump, and also some blood. Why am I bringing up this icky image? Because camel's blood is surprisingly interesting. Going back to the wet stuff, these hardy creatures are adept at handling dehydration out in the desert. The dromedary camel, which has a single hump, can blow up its oxygen-packed red blood cells to approximately double the size of regular beasts. This means when the camel needs to drink, it can really drink. Humans, meanwhile, are advised to take small sips of water after getting dehydrated. Education isn't just about absorbing information. Your emotions play a major role in how those facts, stats, and little pieces of trivia are processed. If you're stressed, then you're less likely to remember what you've heard or read. So, how do you relax and focus properly? Interacting with fellow learners in a socially oriented group is one way, though it's not for everyone. Whether you're a loner or a people person, finding your happy place is important for gaining knowledge. You see, happiness means that chemicals such as serotonin and dopamine are released. These improve your memory and help your brain to fire on all cylinders. We don't automatically make a link between goats and dogs. However, a study published in 2016 revealed that goats are much like dogs in the way they react to humans. The team at Queen Mary University of London saw goats staring at people when getting into difficulty and also sniffing out treats, similar to their canine counterparts. It appears that goats have the same level of intelligence, plus they develop emotional connections to people. You can also put them on a leash, though the jury is out whether or not it's good for the goat. Speaking of lightning, severe thunderstorms can produce something called a sprite. Instead of coming from the clouds to shoot towards the ground, a sprite travels in the opposite direction, in an awesome flash of red intensity. These happen high above thunderstorms, about 50 miles into the atmosphere. They appear only for an instant, and because they occur so high up, they weren't photographed until 1989 by complete chance. If you happen to be exploring the Amazon one day, make sure you don't accidentally go for a swim in this river. It's been a part of local religion for centuries because of its mysterious nature. With an average temperature of 186 degrees Fahrenheit, it would be enough to boil you alive before you had any time to react. Known as the Shnei Timpishka, this thermal river is unique because it's so far from any volcano. The water travels deep under the surface, heating up to extreme temperatures before coming back to the surface through a system of hot springs, all the way back up to the river. Diamonds aren't as indestructible as you might think. Despite being used to cut glass, metals, and other hard substances, diamond does have a weak point. Because they're made of carbon, there's a certain method that will ensure that diamonds are not forever. Applying about 1600 degrees Fahrenheit of heat will cause a diamond to interact with the oxygen in the air, producing even hotter temperatures. Then, adding 100% oxygen will cause it to burst into flames, and if left for long enough, well, it'll be destroyed. This is unlikely to happen in a regular fire, so your jewels aren't in any real risk, but it is technically possible. Alright, I've covered platypus sweat, so now let's move over to the sweat of the hippopotamus, which is strangely red. It doesn't begin red, but after emerging on the surface of the skin, hippo sweat will slowly turn red and then brown. Not only that, it serves some important functions in protecting the animal's skin. It works as a kind of sunscreen to protect from sunburn. In fact, some scientists are even investigating whether the same chemical compounds could be used to make more effective sunscreen for us humans. Would you lather yourself in hippo sweat at the beach? Some strange words come out when you begin to learn the plural for different animals. Take, for instance, a group of frogs, which is known as an army. This name likely came about because of how huge groups of frogs gather together during mating season. For observers, they must have appeared like a tiny army. Or a murder of crows, a gaggle of geeses, a flamboyance of flamingos. It's seriously, look into animal plurals, groups of animals, they're fantastic. If you've ever wondered how much your body is worth, here's a hint. You have about 0.2 milligrams of gold inside. Okay, so that's not worth more than a few bucks at the jeweler, but it is much more valuable inside your body anyway. It's vital for shooting electrical signals around the body because it works as a conductor of electricity.
The brain is a muscle that needs to be exercised. It doesn't sit there like a blob. There are all kinds of exciting things going on inside. Your brain contains billions of neurons, or nerve cells. Like a big old box of wires, these neurons join up, break apart, and generally rearrange themselves according to the experiences you have. Neuroplasticity refers to the way your brain does this. Experts believe if you don't give yourself a mental workout, you'll be more open to a condition like Alzheimer's. They literally describe this approach as use it or lose it. Monkeys have fingers, so surprise, surprise, they have fingerprints. But did you know they also have them on their tails? The black-headed spider monkey found in Central and South America uses its tail to get around. Part of the tail is bald, which makes sense. Fur and hair and such are just going to interfere with the grip. And the exposed part of the tail has a print. As with the fingerprint, the design of each tail print is unique to the individual it belongs to. I'd know that tail anywhere. Phrasing. When someone yawns, chances are, you'll yawn too. Why does this happen? And sometimes when you just read the word, people don't exactly know. However, if you're neurodivergent and you also happen to lack social skills, then you probably won't join in on the yawning. Collective yawning has been linked to social mirroring, the instinctive copying of people around you. If someone is, say, autistic, then this will naturally impact whether they follow the herd when there's an outbreak of yawns. Oh, I can't. Yep. I can't read the word or hear the word without doing it, so I guess I do not fall in that scale. Ugh. Whiskers aren't just a decoration on a cat. They're highly sensitive and used as an extension of the feline's nervous system. You may be surprised to hear that cats have whiskers on their front legs also. You'll find them at the back. Known as carpal whiskers, they literally come in handy when the cat is holding onto a tree or a tasty live morsel. We take breathing for granted, but how does it actually work? Well, it all starts up top, in the brain. Here's what's described as a respiratory center, located between the brainstem and spinal cord, otherwise known as the medulla oblongata. It's the respiratory center that's ultimately in charge of breathing, giving your muscles the go-ahead to do the whole, respiration thing.
What exactly is going on inside your mouth? You might be interested, or disgusted, to find out that there's a hidden thriving ecosystem of more than 700 species of bacteria. In total, around 6 billion of them. These perform a variety of functions like keeping your mouth clean. However, some of them contribute to diseases, even neurodegenerative illnesses like Alzheimer's. Up ahead at number 6, how the Brazil nut effect launched multiple intricate scientific experiments. Cancer is one of the most feared words in medicine. But scientists could learn a thing or two from the humble naked mole rat that has the extraordinary power to fight off cancer. Researchers have found that something inside their body related to a sugar called hyaluronin helps to combat tumors by stopping cells from grouping. Unlike other rodents like beavers and squirrels, the naked mole rats have a long lifespan of up to 30 years and prove to be much more resistant to developing tumors. This has led scientists to conclude that there is a significant relationship between hyaluronin and cancer, meaning that if it can be controlled inside the human body, a major step in the fight against cancer could be achieved. Off the coast of Australia in the famous Great Barrier Reef, a tiny fish has been found that may just be the smallest in the world. Known as the stout floater, it measures only between 6 to 8 millimeters. That's even smaller than a pea. If it wasn't hard enough to spot, well, the fish is also transparent. Maybe that's why so far only 6 of them have ever been collected. Though they might not look so similar at first glance, the okapi is the closest living relative to the giraffe. Its black and white striped body looks more like a zebra than a giraffe, and it stands just 5 feet tall, less than 1/3 of the height of a giraffe. But they are the 2 known remaining members of the Giraffidae family. The okapi are an endangered species that mainly live in Central Africa, though many zoos around the world are attempting to breed them to increase the population. If you do want to see one, there's definitely one at the Kilimanjaro Safari at Disney's Animal Kingdom in Orlando. And I believe there's one at Animal Kingdom Lodge. You can actually get much closer to that one. A tiny ball of atoms, under a nanometer in diameter, Buckminster fullerene, are molecules moving around your body right now. An easier name for them is buckyball. They are shaped like a soccer ball made up of carbon atoms and were discovered by a group of researchers in 1985. Some scientific phenomena look closer to magic than physics. The Leidenfrost effect is one of them, and you can see it yourself on a stovetop. As a pan heats up, at first you can sprinkle water or liquid into it and watch it fizz and evaporate. But once it reaches the Leidenfrost point of heat, liquid dropped in the pan quickly scatters around. That fast movement is caused by a layer of gas released below the water. The underside of the water molecules vaporizes and leaves the top to suspend in the air like it's levitating. Vampires are just fictional, right? Well, maybe not entirely. The aptly named Dracula parrot can grow up to 1.5 meters, which is pretty difficult to miss. Their features make it clear where they got the name from. A curved pointed beak, a black coat of feathers, with flashes of red. This is the kind of bird that you should take as an omen if you cross paths with it. Luckily, they're mostly confined to New Guinea, and as far as we know, they don't seek out blood.
Ugh, can you imagine filing away at your own teeth? Oh, I don't like this. Me neither. I prefer to rely on a professional sadist. Sorry, dentist. A sea urchin, on the other hand, has no issues with self-dentistry. Research from 2018 showed that they naturally sharpen each of their teeth. Sea urchins have 5 jaws to go along with their 5 individual teeth. The teeth have a tough outer layer that scrapes against its fellows like a built-in knife sharpener. Do the teeth wear down? No, because the material grows back. That sounds miserable. In 2023, a study was released showing that goalies view the world around them more rapidly than their teammates. Speaking of teams, the study was conducted by a group of scientists from Dublin. What makes goalkeepers so speedy? Well, the study found that goalies relied on both sight and hearing to locate the ball. The split-second decision-making needed to find the ball, combined with the info coming in from different senses, means that their brains are perfectly trained to react faster than the average player. And I'm also going to assume the same can probably be said with hockey goalies, not just soccer/football. It's a tinier object to try to find too. Not as a weird and messy superhero named Glitterman, but as a massively annoying art material that gets everywhere. CSI has a field day with this pesky substance, which apparently looks groovy under a microscope. What crimes has glitter solved? Well, for starters, a murder case where glitter in the victim's hair was linked to traces found in the killer's mode of transportation. This astonishing, for lack of a better term, discovery came in 2013. You could say it was off the scale. Academic research in Turin, Italy made cotton fabric non-flammable with the help of DNA extracted from fishy swimmers. How did this combination come about? I don't want to know. The important thing is that the sperm from herrings contains DNA, and DNA features phosphate and nitrogen. Heat them up, then a foamy, carbon-rich layer is created that fire can't get around. Bee stings are painful. That much is obvious to anyone who's been on a picnic or razzed a beekeeper convention. So how crazy is it that the vast majority of the venom is water. Unfortunately, because human flesh is pretty moist, the watery mixture spreads beneath our skin, causing maximum pain. The venom also has an acidic pH level of up to 5.5. So it's not just a bee, it's also a bit of a xenomorph. Liquid helium takes on a life of its own when cooled to a certain temperature. That magic number is several degrees below a boiling point of minus 452 degrees Fahrenheit. It becomes frictionless and lacks solidity. Why? Well, the atoms in helium are extremely light and don't settle down, essentially meaning this stuff takes on Spidey-type qualities. For example, it's been observed climbing up the walls of a container. Did you know we all have a blind spot in our eyes? You won't really notice it because it's way back in your eye where the retina is. Your retina is a light-sensitive layer which kind of acts as a plug-in point for your optic nerve. Think of the optic nerve as an electric cable running images to your brain, and there's an optic disc where the nerve and the retina meet. Here, you don't get any vision. This is called a scotoma. But be warned, you can also develop them in your central vision through macular degeneration and other diseases. If in doubt, get it checked out.
Throw a variety of nuts or cereal into a bag or jar and you're likely to see the bigger ones rise to the top. Believe it or not, this has been a serious subject of scientific inquiry. The effect seems counterintuitive because usually, if an object is heavy, it falls closer to the bottom. To understand the phenomenon, known unofficially as the Brazil nut effect, 3D and X-ray imaging was used to see what exactly is going on inside packets. Researchers found that the bigger nuts only began moving upwards when they were vertically upright. Later, a theoretical model suggested that the effect happened spontaneously, meaning that you don't need to shake the bag for it to occur. As each nut collides together, the heavier ones repel one another much more because they have a bigger charge, helping them to slowly move up towards the top. What does your dancing say about you? I'm fantastic at it. But I guarantee it's nothing like what bees do. The waggle dance is something that beekeepers have observed for tens of thousands of years. Bees need a way to communicate with each other, and one of the most effective ways is through dancing. To spread the message of where a flower is, a bee dances in front of the rest of the colony. Ooh, talk about pressure. Lucky for them, there are only two variants of the dance: the circle dance and the waggle dance. While the circle dance is pretty self-explanatory and communicates that flowers are nearby, the waggle dance is a little more precise. It tells other bees the direction and distance. It involves a waggle run from side to side in a straight line before looping back to the starting point. The larger the loop, the further the distance. And whichever direction the waggle is in, that's where the bee should head to find flowers. It all sounds pretty complicated, and I'm happy to just use language instead of dance moves, because us Jews are not known for our dancing skills. We've got the hora, and that's about it. There's also not much room to dance around here. I'll start kicking things. Quick! Based on my dance moves, where do you think the nearest flower is? What do you share with a 3,000-pound rhino? You might not think much, but their horns are largely made up of a protein called keratin, which makes up our hair and fingernails. Our fingernails might have the same base as a rhino horn, but for rhinos, this protein transforms into a rock-hard weapon of defense through many more layers. They even grow about 2 centimeters a year, almost as fast as human nails. The sundew plant has a remarkably effective way of trapping its food. They're equipped with long, red tentacles that are difficult to avoid. For unsuspecting insects, they are drawn to the plant and, well, never return. A tiny gland on the end of each tentacle produces a sweet, sticky substance. Once an insect lands, the other tentacles wrap around and slowly digest it before unwinding, ready for another meal. 855 millimeters per second might not sound very fast, but for an ant, it's lightning quick. The Saharan silver ant travels at a speed equal to 3 kilometers per hour. As the name suggests, these ants live in the Sahara Desert, and under extreme heat, they only spend a few minutes each day above ground. When they do emerge, though, their predators struggle to catch them. Relative to their size, if we translated their speed to a human, it would be the same as a person running 200 meters per second, over 20 times faster than Usain Bolt. Did you know that there's a type of bacteria that acts as a tiny compass? They're called magnetotactic bacteria, and they pick up on the magnetic field of the planet to help move towards better environments. They contain iron oxide or iron sulfide, which clump together to form magnetic nanoparticles. Scientists are hoping that investigating these tiny bacteria will help us understand how some animals might be using the Earth's magnetic field too, and if it can be applied to medicine, to kill cancer cells or deliver drugs to certain parts of the body.
Horse cloning is a thing, in case you weren't aware, and it's been going on for decades. It first happened in Italy back in 2003. You'd think after all these years it'd be a smooth process, but nay. According to scientists, they can't get an exact copy of the original horse. Why? Well, that's one heck of an explanation that needs a video in and of itself. However, the basics are that the mitochondrial DNA affects the process, sort of like grit in a jelly mold, or jello for us Americans. Your stomach blushes, just like your cheeks. Embarrassment leads to an adrenaline surge, which expands your capillaries. These are seen on your face, but the redness also occurs in your stomach lining. People can't actually see that, but it's still crazy to think about. Now you know when you eat 3 Big Macs in a row, your gut is just as ashamed as you are. Sometimes teeth get a head start on your baby. It's generally assumed that they grow over time post-birth, yet babies will occasionally come out of the womb with a natal tooth ready to go. This reportedly happens for 1 in every 2,000 cases. It's just one of those miracles of nature, though it actually can spell danger for the little one, as a choking hazard, for example. Keep a close eye, and everything should be fine. We've got a fact fever here at List 25. A less fun fever, of course, is one with a high temperature that potentially damages your brain. Harvard Medical School states that if you exceed 106 degrees Fahrenheit, this can impact you in a lasting way. Fevers are of particular concern in children, though reportedly a fever caused by infection with no external factors or a pre-existing nervous system issue is highly unlikely to affect someone's brain. Seek professional medical advice in any case if you're concerned. How horrible would it be to fall into a volcano and sink into a pool of gloopy, melting hot lava? Well, for starters, you won't sink. Sources have compared the viscosity of lava to peanut butter, meaning that, luckily for you, you'll float. And burn to a crisp within seconds, of course. Either way, not falling into volcanoes is probably the best course of action. Viruses can come from the sky? Well, you might need to put up your umbrella because, according to experts, we are being bombarded with a reported 800 million viruses per square meter, approximately. The shocking news was revealed in 2018. Amazingly, the viruses are carried into our atmosphere via soil and water droplets that are whipped up in the clouds. At an altitude of 2,500 to 3,000 meters, the icky stuff starts flying around like a highly infectious batch of rain, and it's gonna have to land sometime. On us.
So, what was your favorite fact? Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and check out our social medias, including my personal ones. Links in the description. And I'm sure some of these science facts blew your mind, but sometimes behind the scenes of these experiments is even more jaw-dropping. From a group of men staying in bed for 370 days to a South Korean man-made sun that reached over 120 million degrees, you need to check out these 25 strangest science experiments that actually happened. Seriously, I love science, and experimenting is fun, but these ones are bonkers. Like, maybe probably shouldn't have done some of them, if I'm being honest. Find that out. Check, I'll meet you there. Let's go.